One of my favorite trashy sci-fi horror comedies is Frank Henenlotter's Frankenhooker. It's a story about a mad scientist type whose girlfriend is killed in an accident, so he saves her head and then hits the streets looking for a body nice enough to be worthy of his girlfriend's head. Yeah, it's just as awesome as it sounds. But I'm not talking about Frankenhooker today. I'm talking about a much older movie, The Brain That Wouldn't Die. It's a story about a mad scientist type whose girlfriend is killed in an accident, so he saves her head and then hits the streets looking for a body nice enough to be worthy of his girlfriend's head. And yeah, it's as awesome as it sounds. Welcome to Xploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at The Brain That Wouldn't Die from 1962. This film is something of a trash movie classic, partly because it was accidentally released into the public domain, which meant it went on to get quite a lot of TV time and more than a few physical media releases. You can even watch it here on YouTube. Its wide availability and the fact it was adapted into an awesome movie like Frankenhooker is a pretty good argument that movies should enter the public domain sooner. But I'm not here to talk about antiquated copyright law. I'm here to talk about a severed head kept alive by a mad scientist. So let's meet our main characters. We open on a father-son doctor team. The son, Bill, is the reckless experimental sort, but his unconventional methods manage to bring their patient back from the dead. Nice job, Bill. Bill says he has a compound that can allow body parts to be transplanted without any issues. An eye from here, an arm from there, a kind of jigsaw approach to the human body. Huh, kind of like Bride of Reanimator.
This morbid doodling with human body parts.
After the operation, Bill gets a message that something has gone really wrong at his weekend house / secret laboratory. So he and Jan head there, and they've got to hurry. But you know what hurrying will get you. Uh-oh, Jane doesn't look too good. Bill reaches in and pulls out something. He runs up to his lab and gets that something into place, and there she is, the brain that wouldn't die. Well, actually, it's more of a head that wouldn't die, but that title's not as good. Although, if you watch the movie until the very end, you'll see that that was one of the original titles. After getting the head stabilized, Bill's assistant, Kurt, tells Bill that something is going on with that thing in the closet. What is that thing in the closet? Well, Bill doesn't care much for the time being. He has more pressing matters like finding a new body for his girlfriend, Jan. And where can you find the best female bodies? At the strip club, of course. Yeah, of course. The Moulin Rouge. I've been there. Well, I've been to the one in Paris. I've never been to wherever this one is. Bill mingles, catches the eye of a few ladies. Oh, pick her, Bill, please. Her body has the right kind of, scaffolding to support a new head. Bill is about to take my good advice, but then another girl interrupts him. And then, catfight.
Why, you cheap third-rate stripper! You are falling over! You cheap bleeding high! Let go! Don't you ever call me well, there. I'll mash you like a bug. You should try. Oh, I'll try all right. Meow.
Subtle. Back at the lab, Jan isn't too happy to be ahead, and she wants revenge. She talks through the thing in the closet and starts to formulate a plan. And poor Bill, since that stripper plan doesn't work, he has to think of something else, so he hits the streets again. And as luck would have it, he meets Donna, who invites him to be the judge at a beauty pageant. Man, what are the chances? And I really love this conversation that Bill and Donna have.
Say, how about a little side course in anatomy?
Yours? Anytime.
I always follow the doctor's orders. Anything you prescribe, I'll take.
That's what I like about you, Donna. Always so obliging.
Subtext. And then it's off to the pageant. Oh, pick her, Bill. She definitely has the right kind of, scaffolding to support a new head. Well, things don't work out with any of the beauty pageant contestants, but Bill hears about a figure model who poses for photographers, and he heads over there. Still way too many people around here, so he has to wait for these photographers to leave. And yeah, this photographer knows how to get those angles. And after all the photographers leave, Bill stays behind and convinces that figure model that he can replace her scarred up face. It looks like he's gonna get that body after all. But back at the lab, things aren't going well for Kurt. Will Bill kill the model? Can Jan stop him? What is that thing in the closet? That's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Well, this movie came out in 1962, but it was filmed in 1959, which meant it was made at a time when nudity in film, especially a film like this, would have been legally problematic. So there's none of that, but it still manages to be pretty sleazy for a late 50s, early 60s movie. Strip club, beauty pageant, that figure model, yeah, pretty great stuff. And I mentioned it before, but it's worth mentioning again, some of the dialogue here is really great. Also, I quite like a lot of the cinematography here. There's some really nice angles. Yeah, well, they're not as nice as that one photographer got with the figure model, but pretty nice. Sure, the sets in this film look really cheap, but, for that low budget, you can't really complain about the photography here. And wow, how about that gore? Kurt getting his arm ripped off is the highlight, of course, but we also get a few other nice sequences that I won't spoil. Sure, even the Kurt scene's not super splattery, but this was filmed 3 or 4 years before Herschel Gordon Lewis invented the splatter film. With that in mind, not too bad. But of course, the movie isn't perfect. Like a mad scientist test driving a few replacement bodies, it has some shortcomings. I've mentioned it before on the channel, but I am not one of those bad movie lovers who likes bad movies because they're bad. I never watch movies to make fun of them. That's not me. I watch bad movies for what they do right, especially what they do right despite very low budgets. And this movie does do a lot right, which I've already mentioned, but it does do a lot wrong. The biggest problem, I think, is this movie can't quite decide what it wants to be. Is it a dark comedy? Is it a serious horror film? It doesn't know. When it leans into the cheesiness and the sleaziness and the comedy, it's great and I love it. But it spends way too much time in between trying to be serious. The writing is way too hokey and the story is way too sleazy for us to take this thing seriously. And the actors are really not good enough to do serious.
I still hate all men. I hate them for what one did to me once. Have you forgotten? Well, have you?
Make no mistake, this is a flawed film. If it had leaned harder into the hokiness and the sleaziness, it would have been perfect. Which is exactly the direction that Frank Henenlotter took the idea. And yeah, Frankenhooker is kind of perfect.